everybody. Welcome to the E3 special edition of the CU podcast for Thursday, June 15th, 2017. That's Ian Ferguson.
That's me.
This is Pat Country, and we're good enough. Pat and Ian are good enough to cover E3. You know, E3, we've done an E3 special almost every year we've done the podcast, right?
Almost.
We almost felt like we were obligated to.
Either it fell on that week or we did one. I don't think we did one last year.
You don't think we did one last year?
I don't think so.
Just because it was just crazy or something else was going on, or we just said fuck it? Did anything happen in E3 last year? I don't remember. It feels like this E3 has been a lot more momentous. I don't know.
I don't feel like anything happened this E3.
But in general, though, E3 is taking a nosedive in terms of importance. We always speak about it each year. I went for 3 years in a row from 2011, 12, 13. I went, and that was it. That's all. That was good enough for me. Good enough. But anyway, we got a lot lined up. And besides that, we'll be talking about. I'm wearing a Goonie shirt. If you're not seeing on the podcast, that's why I'm singing that. We'll be talking about Wolfenstein 2. Xbox One X, Xbox X, Nintendo E3 stuff, Super Mario Odyssey. We have a call-in Q&A segment and something else special. Ian, what's been happening?
So ever since I got Friday the 13th, the game.
I got the game. I just haven't played it yet.
Well, I don't have it on the PC yet. Vonnie and I have been going back and watching all of the Friday the 13th movies. So we watched 5 and 6 last night.
5 is awful.
No, see, here's the argument I'm going to make.
Okay. You like the fact that it's different?
5 is actually... everyone says 5 is bad, and I haven't seen these movies in a long time.
It's the Halloween 3 of the franchise.
I haven't seen these movies since probably my early 20s, so let's say 15 years ago, roughly.
Okay.
My first apartment's like 19, 20, 21. And these movies used to, like, scare the shit out of me.
Absolutely.
I can't handle gore. They scared the shit out of me.
Shocktober, WPIX.
Whatever.
Was with me.
When they'd put them on, in marathons, my friends would always want to watch them. And I would spend most of the time curling into the couch, not watching these. So I've seen these movies, but basically I've seen the beginnings and the ends of most of these movies and spent most of the time, squirming into the corner. So nowadays I can watch these things and they just don't faze me. So I'm kind of coming to grips with all these. I know the first movie front to back, and I've always enjoyed it. I like the third one more than I remember. I like the third one a lot.
Third one is not the sleeper of the series, but that's a pretty damn good.
I really like the third one.
Yeah.
Second one, I mean, whatever. It's okay.
I like the look of the second one.
Sure.
It looked very creepy. Like the first two are like the sister movies of each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like 3 and 4 are kind of
4, which I always remembered as being good.
4 is awesome.
No, it sucks.
No, it's good.
No, the end is fine, but they never explain what happens to the mom. The mom just disappears.
She dies.
She's gone. Yeah, she's dead, but she just wanders off and she's gone.
They don't show how it happens, but they show she's dead.
And that the story drives me nuts in that one, and that used to be my favorite. But after watching it, I felt like it was kind of. Well, what the fucky?
Well, 4 directly comes after 3. It's supposed to be it was originally going to be the end of the series.
Yeah, I know that. And they got Tom Savini back, and the special effects are good. And
Crispin Glover.
Got
some nice nudity in there. Some of the best nudity of the series.
Lots of great nudity. But there was just something about the story, and I was like, it didn't hold up for me, or maybe I just overhyped it as we were getting up to 4.
I like the fact that it referenced itself, being that the one character was trying to get revenge for his sister being killed. You had the Corey Feldman character being introduced. What the hell is his name? The guy.
Tommy Jarvis.
Tommy Jarvis character. So there was more going on than the other movies in and of itself. And plus, like I said, it was supposed to be the last one. And remember, in 4, he's still a human being. He's still a regular guy that can be killed. I don't know how they put him in the morgue without knowing he wasn't dead. That aside. But the gore effects are fantastic in 4. Like, some of the stuff they do is insane if you're into that.
But no, I thought 5 was a pretty interesting...
For what it was.
For a pretty interesting movie. 5 was...
The middle point of the series. Almost literally and figuratively, and it kind of bookends two different...
It was. It only becomes awful in the shadow of 6.
Okay.
Because 6 is... And 6 is the one I remember the most.
6 is where the series really got super popular. That's where you have zombie Jason come alive.
It's a super poppy movie, too. It's very jokey. A lot of the deaths are even...
That's when the series became quote-unquote mainstream popular.
Yes.
That's when you see Jason appear on Arsenio Hall, for example. Like when that and Freddy Krueger, both in the late 80s, were getting big. At the same time, people first talking about crossover was with Part 6. Part 6, 7, 8 were the three, like, wow, this is Jason in his zenith, so to speak.
And and it was just weird for me comparing them because it's like either one of these could have been, either 5 or 6 could have been a diverging point, and 5 would have probably taken it down a more horror path,
like that Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, where like it gets transferred between different people. Like, no one ever talks about that one because it's like weird and. And
then 6 takes it more into the mainstream. So it was just an interesting double of movies to watch last night.
You can see the progression and change there. See, that's the thing. I prefer 4 to 6. I don't like Zombie Jason. It's not as interesting to me a story as just the human being that's IQ of 50 going around killing people because his mom got. That to me is an more interesting story before it becomes a zombie. At least to me personally.
No, and that's the thing. I love the idea of 4, and I love the idea of parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 as a whole. I guess just when I had sat back down to watch 4 again, I'd maybe overhyped it, or I had things that I had overlooked annoyed me. Anyways,
okay, let's move on.
Basically, its own segment. So let's go.
Well, we're gonna do an intro segment now. Upload it because real quick, we have 2 other things to talk about. First, we're going to talk about Ian. Unfortunately, in his absence, we had a lot of stuff build up in sort of like letters from people, and thank you so much for those in gifts. And we've unwrapped some on the podcast quick. We have a few here that we try to catch up on. Ian's got a postcard, and I have a letter here as well. First, we'll show this we got from Fox. Fox, who's overseas, he's usually around Japan. Looks like Pat just got back to Seoul from Iwakuni. I don't know where that is. I know Seoul's in Korea. Iwakuni, I don't know where that is. I picked up some neat stuff for you. So he got us a bunch of stuff, and this is like great stuff. This is fantastic. This is the Samurai Taisho Darth Vader, and there's the Iron Man. Yeah, these aren't cheap. These are really cool to find these for us.
Awesome.
This is at first I'm like, oh, I didn't know this existed, but no, it's licensed. The movie realization, and thank you so much, Fox, for this stuff. And he communicates with us.
Stuff, so.
He's going out his way to try to find goodies for us in Asia. And then Ian, you have a postcard there.
From Jennifer McMyler, just saying, I have always loved your podcasts and the great reviews. Keep up with the awesome job, and I hope Ian feels better soon. Thanks, Jennifer.
And it's on a Pikmin art.
Yeah, it's a little Pikmin card, and it's really cute.
And then finally, this one I felt the worst about because at first I didn't see it in my P.O. box. It's from William. He's from Ohio, about 45 minutes from Pittsburgh. Just want to say hello. I listen to the podcast every day. Also love Flea Market Madness and Pat the NES Punk videos. I included the Game Boy game. I doubt it's anything special, but I sold off most of my retro games because they were just collecting dust. So this letter was ripped open when I got it, unfortunately. So the Game Boy game, I have to see if I found it or if it fell with something else, but I don't remember seeing it. But the return address was ripped off entirely, so I don't know where it came from. But he wanted us to sign. The picture was in there, a little picture of us from happier times in the podcast. Ian a little younger, hair a little bit shorter, Pat laughing. So we did sign this for you, William, and he said he wanted to put this next to his Mel Gibson and Cyndi Lauper autographs. That's a motley crew of autographs right there. I respect and like both those
Cyndi
people.
Lauper, that's
they're both
fantastic.
Great artists. Yeah, Goonies are good enough. But anyway, so if you want to email me, William, and so I know who you are, tell me your address so I can match it to the town here, so I'll know exactly what town you're from. So then we'll match it with your street address, so I can mail this back to you at some point. And there you go. One other thing, real quick. That was alerted yesterday. The passing of Keith Robinson.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
From Intellivision. Keith was a programmer at Intellivision, then basically took over the namesake and the properties afterwards. Helped keep Intellivision alive in the public eye.
Did good things with it. Made sure that the people could experience Intellivision. The games, he put out great collections on the PS2.
Intellivision Lives. It was also on Xbox and also
Xbox,
GameCube.
PS2. I don't believe it ever had a GameCube version, but he really loved that he wanted the developers to get all the credit. He made sure developers got credits for each of the games that were on there, and there was little developer stories for each of the games that were on there too. So he wanted to make sure everyone involved in Intellivision got their due. He very much loved that part of his life in that company.
Well, what's important also is that was one of the earliest parts of game preservation we saw, in the 90s when you had like Intellivision Libs and the Atari version of those. I remember first seeing stuff like that like on the computer like in the mid 90s, and then they come to consoles. It's very important to get that going again, sort of the first mainstream quote unquote retro gaming, that you could purchase as a consumer. This is before all the flashbacks even. So and Keith was great to appear on the video game years. I did not do that interview. John did that interview, and that was at, I think, Classic Game Expo 2012. I did meet the man, though. I had a chance to meet him at some conventions. Very nice guy. Talk everyone's ear off. I remember at Game On Expo a couple years ago, I'm waiting to go on afterwards, and he's like going into like basically when my time started. I'm like looking like, I'm like, Keith. He loves telling the stories back in the day. So here's to raise your glass to Keith Robinson. Did a lot for the retro gaming community and just all around good fellow.